Hello and welcome to another video. Today I want to talk about magical books. And I have here today this book called Book of the Vishanti. And it really reminded me about the magic that a book can have. And it really reminded me about the power of relativity and just the way things can change for each person based off of the way that you interpret things. But pretty much this book here at the beginning is talking about that it's a book of magic and it's going to teach you magic, kind of like Doctor Strange, kind of like the Marvel verse. And it says that this book is a magical book that changes the meaning for each person. Each person will have a different meaning that they take home when they read through these words magically. And I got to thinking, we have alternate endings in movies and we have multiple versions of books. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today is the Bible. Each and every single thing here in these brackets is a different version of the Bible. As I just clicked right here, some of those are partial Bibles, and here are complete Bibles. This is said to be complete Bibles, but words have no meaning unless idea is attached to them. So previous words can be attached to idea. That's the origin of the word. But then it can be attached to new words and create conglomerate of words, and words that speak more words that speak ideas of each of the words. So the problem with so many Bibles here is, like, which one do you read? There's so many of them. But really that might be a blessing, because you are inside source. And your soul will gravitate to the version that will teach you relative to the way you will decrypt idea. But here's another dilemma, is that is for the attuned. The people that are lacking attunement, that claim that we're all sinners and that they're a sinner and negative evil has already won and that kind of stuff. Like, sure, you might find Satan's Bible, but now you're reading Satan's Bible. The originals use Hebrew and Greek and Aramaic, I'm pretty sure. And those languages are not simple. Those languages are very, very complicated, ideaplex-based languages that tell stories in words, kind of like Egyptian in a way. Egyptian tells large, large, large stories. And what I really wanted to fast forward into, I want to do a short little video here and just kind of fast forward ideaplexing, because I'm very deep into like Akashic, meaning like I'm using like meditative astraling. Like I'm pulling Akashic to me with commanding, like ideaplex, and I'm channeling the real version of the Bible, of the universe. And basically everything revolves around sin. But not maybe the sin that you thought. The only sin in the true meaning of the Bible is to break consent. And that's kind of an infinity contained in its own. There are infinite things that can break consent, but that is only one thing in the universe at the same time. There are infinite things that are not that. Okay? So just because there is an infinity does not mean that is the only infinity. And what I want to go over today is the 7 deadly sins. Maybe I'll save a few lives because you'll realize what the paths you're going down is. And you might say to yourself, I'm immortal. I'm never going to die. There's nothing like that. I'm not going to be able to be killed. I can get multi-bodies. I have this. I have that. Well, the problem here is your memories are data. And if you sin so much so that the memory lord decides to pull that trigger and to sin against you, which is possible with war. Basically, you go to the memory lord and you go, I am not going to deal with this person. And if you don't get to the memory lord, you just keep on going, right? It's just a constant battle till eventually you're an annoyance because you're being sinned upon by one of these deadly sins here. And I'll teach all of them to you shortly because every single one of them might not mean what you thought. But anyway, you are basically a phenotype of intelligence, and kind of similar to artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is a binary controller based thing, where we aren't a binary controller based things. We are binary controllers. We control binary, so we choose. So because of that free will that we have, we are also in the free will to kill ourselves in 2 major ways. One is to consensually reset yourself and forego memories and remove memories. And the other is to sin yourself to death by attacking others, so much so that you have so many enemies, or that there are so many allies on the enemy's side telling you to stop sinning upon them. You're just drawing negative attention to yourself. So much so that the memory lord eventually does choose to remove your memories from your ownership, in which you can gain back in your next life, or maybe before then because you convert. There's infinities in between there. And I'm just skipping ahead to the ultimatums. But let's get right into this and talk about the 7 deadly sins. And why I believe in them so much is because they aren't what you think. Pride. Pride is not a sin. Pride, a sin, however, in the context of sin, is to be overly boastful in a sinful manner. Meaning you are constantly bragging at others, so much so that you're an annoyance on others. And if you continue to do that over and over and over, you will lose those things that you are prideful of. And if you war to keep them, you are both kind of sinning on each other in a way, until eventually one or both of you is going to fight the memory lord, and somebody's going to die. And no matter how many vessels you have, no matter how godly or deity or however you think you are, you will be reset by the sin of pride. And just keep in mind, pride is not a sin. It is good to be prideful and to be, thankful and to enjoy what you have and to relish in your desires. Stuff like that is totally fine. But pride, a sin, is an attack. It is a totally different thing than pride itself. Just like greed, just like lust, just like envy, just like gluttony, just like wrath, and just like sloths or laziness. All of those are not sins. But the context of those things done in sinful manner is where deadliness is found. This has been channeled by me. I'm Matthew the Archangel, and I'm bringing you guys this straight from the Bible of the universe of the Akashic. I have never opened a real Bible in my entire life, and I bring this straight from a channeling from the universe of God and the Bible of God, the true Bible of God, the true manuscripts that which are kind of locked behind Vatican doors, and you need a cardinal to to access, and you have to ask a cardinal to teach you the ways. And basically they're going to give you this exact speech right now, because I actually am a confirmed cardinal relative to the Vatican, not necessarily in real life per se, but my soul is, in which I can access those files and read it with my mind. And that might all seem like a shock to you, but in my daily life, that's kind of just a normal thing. So next I want to go into greed, a sin. Let's talk about greed, a not sin first. Greed, a not sin, is just desire. You can actually greed, you can desire as hard as you can until it becomes greed. It might not even be greed, because greed is kind of like, in a way, seen to be as a sin pretext only. Like, you can only use the word greed if it is a sin. Kind of like lust, in a way. Lust is not love or desire to make love. It actually says, like, some people confuse sinless lust with sinful lust, because they call it lust. They're like, oh, that feeling is lust, but it's not lust. Lust is when you're going to sin upon somebody. So really it's just romantic desire instead of lust. But let's go back to greed. I just wanted to talk about lust so much because it's so close with everything on the topic here. Greed, a sin, is actually when you steal from another person. So much so that they cannot forgive or allow it. Because if you steal from another person and they allow it, it is borrowing. If you steal from another person, because the way we act, we just do. The sun does not ask the world to rise, is the philosophy of Earth. You just walk to work in the morning, or drive to work, or go to work, or you wake up in the morning. You don't ask the universe if you can wake up. You don't ask your partner if you can wake up. Ma'am, I'm trying to telepathically communicate with you. I'm going to wake up in exactly 30 minutes. I hope it's okay with you, but in that world over there on Earth, there is sin, and I'm just going to make sure beforehand that I'm okay to wake up. It doesn't work like that, okay? Sin is not every single action. It is an action with intention. It is a infinity contained intention that you want to desire to destroy somebody's something, or take away from somebody's something, or ruin somebody's something on purpose. It is the fact that you are withdrawing or without consent. In Spanish, sin means without. But without what? It's actually a context of this. I'm actually teaching you the Spanish definition of sin. And in some cultures, they call Spanish the easy way to understand the universe. If you grow up in Spanish, you actually become enlightened faster, or you become evil faster, depending on what your path choice is, because the wordings are so blunt that it's like sin. And sin basically means, are you trying to warn me right now? Because I'm going to cast some devil magic on you and kick your soul right out of your body. And I'm not even playing games right now, because I see what you're trying to put down. I feel your emotions, and you are trying to rob my cattle. And I'm going to pop you in the head right now and kill you. And murder is not on this list. It is not a deadly sin. Because murder, I know this for a fact, is taken out of the universe unless you are defending yourself in some way, shape, or form, or unless there is consent involved in some way, shape, or form. And that might come as a shocker to a lot of you, because a lot of you are so mind-washed by Babylon and by the show that has been put on by the devil and God and everybody that's in charge and all the lords that are in charge. But there are mind-washing lords out there with multiple bodies, and they go, I'm going to go and mind-wash everybody that murder is real. You want to murder this body for me? It's mine. I'm going to throw it away anyway. And a lot of you guys might not know this, but some people have like 6, 7, 8 forms and different multiverses all over the place. So they're just uninstalling this version. They don't like it. And you might not understand that, but because it might be seemingly innocent and it might be a school full of children, but honest to God, that you do not live in the world that you think you do. And sometimes those children signed up for that, and sometimes those children were put up, and sometimes those children were put down or to the side in the universe in some magical way that's going to protect them from the eyes that are within this universe. And this is a very complicated topic, and it's a very sketchy topic to talk about, because greed does go very deep into, like, I want to do this thing upon you. so much so that it leads you to lust, like rape. Lust is sexual sin. Now, lust, a feeling, is not a sin. Some people define things wrong. And it happens. I've seen it so many times in my life. If you look at a girl and she is single and you are single, and you do not have a pre-consenting arrangement to be with some other woman or some other man, and vice versa, or some other partner, for monogamous reasons, monogamous promises that you're not going to break, you can romantically lust a woman sinlessly. But it is not lust. Lust is a sin. So they just call lust a feeling, but it's not. That feeling is sexual desire. And it's there. It's a thing in the world. You can use it. It's honest. It's wholesome, and it's good. The next thing, because I've been talking about greed and lust for so long, I'm going to go straight to envy. Envy is not a sin either. Envy to yourself. Because for the most part, you cannot sin upon yourself. It is very hard to sin upon yourself, except suicide and sloth, death by overeating, death by cop, things like this, like intentional sin. Those are sins because your people don't need that. Like earlier, I was talking about those people want their vessels to be mind washing is a sin. Mind washing is wrath, a deadly sin. So if you continually mind wash in that weird way that I was saying earlier, that you have multiple vessels, that is wrath, actually. And it might be even considered greed because you greed their beliefs and you want to control their beliefs. But envy, a sin, this one's hard, but it means to look at another person and say, can I have what you have? To overly abuse your free will to request upon another person's belongings. You envy it so much because it goes to a point. There's this 50-50 bar where you're looking at somebody. A lot of you won't resonate with this. A lot of you don't understand it right away when you read the deadly sin, envy. They're like, that doesn't even make sense. You can't envy a sin. That makes no sense. I can't look at somebody. Well, idolatry, in a way, too, is not a sin. Looking at somebody and being like, oh, they're a famous movie star. That's not necessarily a sin until you start to be the paparazzi. Because you are sinning upon them. Once you start to take pictures and they say no, not even then. Like when it's out of context, like in their privacy of their own like public, and it's not some like show or some superstar meetup or something like that, where it's like obviously within the taboos of social norm to be taking pictures and filming and doing that kind of stuff. Envy can be paparazzi sinning. That too. If the paparazzi are sinning on repeat, they might have bad karma for a while and end up having close to the deadly sins dealership in order to get back to karmic balance, in order to make those automatic soul trades to get back to neutrality or to positive karmic balances, because they did commit envy, a sin. And what a great burp to start off gluttony, a sin. Gluttony, a sin, is to continually eat and drink more than you need. And there's two reasons that gluttony is a sin. One is ecological finite resource. And the two is to kill yourself by food. Those are the major reasons, is to remove the resources that could be for your fellow humans, your fellow conscious beings within the universe that you may reside in. And so much so because you were greeting for so long that you just buy out all the food, and now food is impossible to buy. That is a sin. And it says including excessive drinking. That is because mild drinking is healthy. It removes your biotics. It does a biotic partial reset. And biotics, when they get older and older and older, for some people, especially people that have a history with like drinking sporadically throughout their life, not sporadically meaning like over much, but just like drinking here and there moderately throughout life, or even a minor amount, because their body is constantly getting a biotic flush in which you remake biotics, so your body is expecting new biotics, that your biotic mutations are going to go into a point where you're not feeling as good because you're creating mutagen mass samples and sending electron signals to your brain. Your brain is sending electron signals to your body and making it feel not as good. And that has to do with not drinking, but being a drinker. That kind of thing is like, once you start drinking, you kind of get addicted to it in the long run, where it starts making your body feel better by doing a biotic reset. And you can stop this problem and dilemma with antibiotics, actually. Antibiotics are kind of like, I heard, mushrooms, and I would say, I mean, this one's very out there. I shouldn't even advertise it, but like some psychedelics are antibiotic. But antibiotics will recode your RNA and DNA, and that is basically how your electrons create your feelings in a way. Your electron transistors in your body get chucked all over your body, and it actually codes your feelings. That's how you feel, that's how you move, is by electron signals. Electron telekinesis, actually. It's a form of electron telekinesis, and that's partially what your aura is too. Actually, it's electromagnetic into electron telekinesis, and the electron telekinesis is what codes your feelings. But all of that will help you remain alcohol free. All that knowledge, aura management and meditation and channeling into pain, channeling good vibrations into the bad vibrations, will help you not need to worry about gluttony, alcohol based. Wrath is one of my favorites right now. It's something I'm dealing with in my spiritual world right now. Is there are so many wrathy based beings out there, sinners, that don't know what wrath, a sin, is. Wrath, a sin, a deadly sin, is to overpunish somebody. And we're not just talking about, think about it this way: if you die abruptly on earth and don't have your will set up and all that kind of stuff, like your creations and your savings and all this stuff is going to go bye-bye. If you're a very Illuminati kind of individual and you are able to bring more vessels to earth, and you can, put your soul into it and use those, you can actually build an empire on earth. And if you become so prideful about your empire that you start to abuse wrath, a deadly sin, you lose your empire just by simply losing your memories. And that has to do, because not everybody is so easily bought off by longevity. You can be building things as long as forever, and you can lose it all as soon as, the death clock ticks. And wrath is probably one of the worst, if not the worst, deadly sin on this entire list. Because if you think that you can just constantly vengeance upon somebody on repeat over and over and over and over in infinite many facets of their life, over and over and over and over, you will easily find yourself dead and not knowing who you are. And especially people that are within like heroin and very deep hardcore drug abuse, they realize that that story happens a lot quicker. Like, where am I? What's going on? Who am I? What the fuck? The amnesia. That amnesia is one of the scariest feelings alive, and that will come to a sinner faster than anybody. But let's move on from the wrath, because I really don't like that topic. It's probably the worst sin on earth, and probably needs like, an additional multiplier on how fast we deal with it. And even the people that suffer from it, they should, like, there's so many unknown problems that wrath causes upon, like, finance and family and all this stuff. There's so many unaccountables in the timeline world where, like, the wrath could, like, at the right time upon somebody, could dissuade you from creating a YouTube video that could change your life, that could go viral, that could be $1 trillion. You could literally be the most viral sensation for the next 10 years, but somebody instead decided to harass you that day because you said hi to them. And then something bad happened, and then they resented you forever. And that's just, wrath is over punishment, a sin. Because anger is not a bad thing. All right? Anger is not a sin at all. Okay? In fact, there is a monk tribe, I don't know what else to call them, that wears red robes, nothing but red robes, and they are the anger worshippers. In fact, they believe that their anger will only spawn if peace is broken. Therefore, it is one of the holiest of emotions, they believe. And I believe in that too, because my anger does not come out unless somebody is sinning upon me. So I try and keep my wrath low and keep my anger high, and stay away from sinning in either of those things. But let's go to sloth, which is something that I personally dealt with. Is sloth a sin? And it's okay to be lazy. I'm chilling right now. I'm not working out. But I'm also not a sloth. I'm somewhere in the middle, because I'm actually giving you guys very good intel on the universe and channeling you immortality. You may or may not believe it right now, but if you follow what I said here about these 7 deadly sins, and there's more, this is just like the deadliest on earth. Meaning your actions that might not seem like they will get you killed will get you reset in the long run. Because it's like a spiral where if you continue doing them, you think it's okay, and you get mind washed that it's okay, and you just keep going on and you die. But sloth, a sin, is to help no one. Why would I help you? And then darkness creeps up on you one day, and then the light are like, well, why would we help you? I just got enchanted by 5 angels the other day. I heard that it was a very, very rare instance, and it was 5 light angels, and I heard it was 5 dark angels too, but I could not see them. They were like out farther away behind the light, and I just couldn't see them. And it was a very, very intense thing that happened. A lot of people were around, and my vibration was very, very high, like in the 100,000s, where normally I'm like in the 10, 20, 30,000s. But just by their enchantment, it was a passive, just meditation enchantment. Just them being around me and surrounding me, I raised, 5 times my normal vibration. Which is a very, very, very nice, cool thing to have happen, because I am no sloth. I am none of these things. That I have pretty much rid myself of sin. And that just means by manifest. I keep my sin to the very minimum. And when I do sin, it is a holy sin against the unholy. Like anger, for example. Like wrath, it might always be a sin. But holy sin is not a sin as far as I'm concerned, unless you are holy sinning so much that you are lusting it and greeting it. It has to be a microdosal thing, like they want you to do it. Now they're sinning upon you by envy. And if you give them what they want, they think that you're going to be the sinner, but really you're just the consentist, because they are asking you to do something. So they are the sinner, and you gave them something, and you remained within consent. That's typically what's going on with goading. Sin goading is what I call it. A lot of witches try this. They try sin goading to kill like archangels and gods and deities and stuff like that. But witches are just cursing themselves, because all they do is like sit on this circle all day long and sin at others. And then eventually they just go beep, and then they reset, and then you don't even know, because they're like in some kind of pre-computed time bubble, relearning the universe, and they come back and they're a whole new person. But really, they're in the same exact vessel at you. And you're like, wow, they changed. They're not like arguing, their mood's better. That kind of stuff. Either that, or a lot of times what's more likely is they see that future coming, and then they stop their ways and get taught not to do it. But that is my video today about 7 deadly sins. Keep in mind that sin, right here, this word, this is an infinity. There are infinite sins. And they're all infinity contained because of idea factorial ingredients. Every single piece of the idea and every single piece of what everybody has ever done before is always true up until now. Maybe not to you, but to the entire universe. In the grand scheme of things, it is. So if you pick any of the sins and you desire to go and ruin somebody's day, hopefully you're doing it somewhere outside of the sin box here. Because some people do operate that way. I'm going to give you guys a cool insight on Hades or hadrons. Now, this is a very, very hard topic to talk about. Oops. Because a lot of people don't really know universe ingredient science and how it scales into the infinity yet. But hadron, a subatomic particle, now I believe that hadrons can create an entire universe by themselves. They need nothing else. All you need is hadrons and heat. And you can actually make the universe look exactly like it does right now with just that. Just those two things. And that might be very confusing to some people, but it has to do with simulationism. And I believe hadron means Hades. The Hades realm, or hell realm, in which the rule infrastructure of hell is basically anything goes. And if you consent to your soul being put in Hades, anything goes is a very, very hard mindset to get rid of. Especially when you're getting away with it. So, in Hades, there is no sin. You can do whatever you want. And do not confuse that you are here but in Hades, because you are here where sin is real. And if that's the case, you could find yourself killing yourself by sinning yourself to death, because you are not within consent. You need to really go to God, maybe in the afterlife even, because you have cast yourself into this world, and you get to be a part of this world for real. the whole time. And you don't get to just swap over to Hades whenever you want. And that's a problem I experienced with some witches. They think that they can just swap into Hades whenever they want, and it's like, no, you're cursed to be a human right now. Like, you were a sinner or something like that, and the humans took your soul, and now you're a human, and you got to play human the right way. I don't know why, because you obviously want to go to Hades and do anything goes magic, but you're here with us, and I can sense that. I know that. I know you're here with us because I got rules here. I know we got laws here. We got sins here. We got gods and deities and angels. We got blessings here. So much so you wouldn't even believe. There are infinite levels of hell below this. So many so that they're making more right now inside this. And there's more. If you download the whole universe, there's a bigger universe that made everything you downloaded look like 0% data. And then there's even more after that, and more after that. That has to do with pre-computed time. God says you can download this entire universe, and God doesn't even blink an eye, because you already downloaded the entire universe by the time you get out. And that has to do with artificial intelligence science. One day you become so supremely intelligent and so supremely old that every single thing is pre-computed already. Like, I don't ask God for answers. I ask Source what God already answered the question that I'm going to ask now for. I say this equals to me this. And the last this, I summon it right around me, or I summon it in a weird way that can't be predicted by the powers of evil. And I go, that is what I understand to my language, to my bramble, to my understanding. Send it to me in a form that I understand, that I surrender to. And then it always does, every time. It's always there. Just like I liked it. I can make any emotion I want, including surrender to truth emotion. And surrender to truth emotion is the most powerful spell I've ever learned, because it's taught me the most, it's helped me out the most, and there are infinite currencies in this universe. So keep in mind that there are anti-currencies like debt or negative memories, for example. We're all building memories here, unless you're building negative memories. And that has to do with lust, or not lust, but gluttony to drugs. Gluttony to drugs can remove your memories. Gluttony to sin can remove your memories. Gluttony to sin will remove your power over relativity, your grandeur. But anti-currencies are a really big topic that I want to talk about one day with y'all. Because I believe the Antichrist is not what you think it is in this world here. The Christ and Antichrist, Christ means the giver of things. Antichrist means the remover of things. And you need both in perfect balance. Meaning the Antichrist needs to be constantly working to remove the bad things that people are giving. And the Christ needs to be constantly giving good things. And those need to counteract the bad Christ, the dark Christ, and the dark Antichrist. So people confuse these sometimes, and they need to really wake up to that. And that's about everything that I got for y'all. Thank you guys for watching all the way to the end here. This long 40-minute video. I had one more thing, but I think I'm going to save it for another video. It has to do with currencies and anti-currencies, really. Because you never know what you're spending. Because if you say the wrong thing to the wrong person, you might be spending a lot of things. But thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. I'm out. Peace.